Amara had worked for the Harrington family for over 5 years, moving silently through their sprawling penthouse apartment and the bustling office towers, always ensuring everything ran perfectly without drawing attention to herself. As a black woman in a world where elegance and refinement were measured in designer suits and tailored smiles, she often felt invisible, yet indispensable. She cleaned, organized, remembered birthdays, and occasionally brewed coffee strong enough to wake even the most tired executive in the room. But despite her diligence, she had never been truly seen, truly appreciated, not in the way she deserved. Jonathan Harrington was the very definition of a self-made billionaire. Tall, impeccably dressed, with a charisma that could command a room, he had the world at his fingertips, yet somehow, something always seemed missing. He had hosted countless corporate events, luxurious galas, and exclusive parties, but there had always been an invisible distance between him and the people around him. Jonathan's life was polished on the outside but lonely within. No woman had ever truly captured his heart, and no one had ever challenged him in ways that mattered beyond superficial admiration. One brisk autumn morning, as the leaves outside the office turned amber and gold, Jonathan called Amara into his office. She entered cautiously, clutching a notepad, her black and gold scarf neatly tied around her neck. She had long learned that his sudden requests were rarely ordinary. "Amara," he said, his usual confident tone tinged with something uncharacteristically vulnerable, "I need a favor, and I can't ask anyone else." She raised an eyebrow, curiosity and caution mingling in her chest. "Of course, Mr. Harrington. Anything you need." He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, pacing slightly. "There's a corporate party tonight at my office. A lot of my investors and partners will be there. It's crucial I make the right impression. The problem is, they assume I'm married. It helps build credibility, maturity, stability. You know how they think." Amara blinked, taken aback. "You want me to pretend to be your wife?" Jonathan nodded, his expression earnest. "I know it's unusual. I know it's asking a lot. But no one else in my life could pull this off. I need someone graceful, intelligent, and composed. Someone who won't just look the part but make it believable. I trust you, Amara." Her heart raced. The offer was shocking. The audacity of it, the intimacy it implied, the way it blurred boundaries she had always respected. Yet beneath her shock was a flicker of something else, validation. Here was the man she had served tirelessly, seeing her, recognizing her abilities, asking her to step into a world she had only observed from the shadows. I don't know if I should," she admitted, her voice low. "It feels wrong. Pretending to be your wife, even for a night, it's complicated." Jonathan stopped pacing and looked at her, his dark brown eyes softening. "Amara, I wouldn't ask if I didn't believe in you. You've always handled every situation with grace and intelligence. Tonight, I need that grace. I need your help, not as my maid, not as an employee, but as someone who can stand by me and help me, not just survive this party, but shine." For a long moment, Amara studied him. She had known Jonathan as a demanding, exacting employer, someone who rarely let anyone in. And yet now, he was vulnerable, trusting her in a way that no one else had. She could see the pressure behind his perfectly composed facade, the anxiety that the room full of powerful, judgmental people might not see him the way he wanted. Finally, she nodded. "All right," she said, her voice steady, though her heart was pounding. "I'll do it. But, you need to know, this is strictly for the party. Nothing more." Jonathan's relief was palpable, and for the first time, he allowed himself a small, genuine smile. "Thank you, Amara. You have no idea what this means to me." As she left the office to prepare, Amara felt a strange mixture of excitement and apprehension. She had agreed to step into a role she had never imagined, a life she had never touched. But deep down, she couldn't deny a sense of pride. Tonight, she would not just serve coffee or organize files. Tonight, she would stand beside the man she had admired from afar, pretending to be someone she wasn't, and maybe, just maybe, she would discover something about herself in the process. Wait twice. The night of the party arrived with a crisp breeze that swept through the city streets, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves and the distant hum of traffic. Jonathan's office tower glimmered like a jewel against the dark sky, its lights reflecting off the glass panes and casting a warm glow into the bustling city below. Amara stood before the mirror in the penthouse suite, adjusting the elegant navy blue dress Jonathan had suggested. It was simple yet stunning, tailored to highlight her poise and presence without screaming for attention. She had learned over the years how to move gracefully in any room, but tonight, every step felt heavier, more significant. Jonathan appeared at the door, impeccably dressed in a sharp black tuxedo, exuding the confidence that made him a successful billionaire. Yet Amara noticed a flicker of nerves in his eyes, subtle but undeniable. He straightened his cufflinks and gave her a reassuring smile. "Ready?" he asked, his voice steady but carrying a tension that only she could sense. She nodded, taking a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." They arrived at the office building and were immediately greeted by a flurry of well-dressed guests, champagne glasses clinking, laughter echoing through the sleek, modern atrium. Jonathan's investors and partners were already mingling, discussing deals and accomplishments with the polished enthusiasm of people who had everything but still craved validation. Amara followed Jonathan's lead, staying close but moving with a grace that drew subtle glances. She smiled politely, laughed at the right moments, and answered questions with the kind of intelligence and charm that left people impressed. She could see Jonathan's relief as their colleagues began to believe the story, that they were a married couple who shared a stable, accomplished life. As the evening progressed, Amara found herself drawn to Jonathan in a way she had never anticipated. There was something vulnerable behind his confident exterior, a quiet longing that flickered in his eyes when he thought no one was watching. She noticed the way he listened intently to her responses, the slight admiration in the way he watched her handle the room, and she felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her chest. Midway through the party, an investor approached Jonathan with a question about a potential merger, speaking quickly and with a hint of skepticism. Amara stepped in seamlessly, providing insight and context that not only impressed the investor but also revealed Jonathan in a new light, as someone who valued intelligence, not just charm. The investor nodded appreciatively, and Jonathan's hand brushed hers in thanks, a small but electric moment that left her heart racing. As she moved through the crowd, Amara suddenly paused, noticing a group of colleagues whispering and casting curious glances toward her. One of them leaned closer to Jonathan and asked quietly, "Is she really your wife?" Jonathan's subtle squeeze of her hand and reassuring nod made her smile softly. They had pulled it off, for now. But a question lingered in her mind, unspoken: could pretending ever become something real? Could the connection they were building in this charade lead to feelings neither of them expected? By the end of the evening, Jonathan and Amara stood together, sharing a quiet moment near the balcony that overlooked the city lights. The party buzzed behind them, but for a brief moment, it felt like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. Jonathan looked at her with a depth she hadn't seen before, an honesty that stripped away the roles they were playing. "Thank you, Amara," he said softly, his hand brushing hers again. "I couldn't have done this without you." Amara felt her heart swell with a mixture of pride and something more tender, something she wasn't ready to name. She realized that tonight had not only tested her composure but had revealed a part of herself she rarely allowed to surface, a part that was confident, seen, and, surprisingly, wanted. As they left the party and stepped into the cool night air, Amara couldn't help but wonder what the future held. They had started with a lie, a simple act of pretense, but the feelings that had begun to stir between them were undeniable. Perhaps this night would be the beginning of something neither of them expected, something that could change both of their lives forever. The morning after the party, the city was quiet, bathed in soft sunlight that filtered through the tall office windows. Jonathan sat at his desk, his usual confident posture replaced by an unusual stillness. The previous night played over and over in his mind, the way Amara had navigated the crowd, her elegance, her intelligence, her effortless charm. He realized with a start that it wasn't just the investors who had been impressed, he had been captivated, caught off guard by emotions he had long buried under layers of ambition and composure. Amara, meanwhile, returned to her usual duties with a strange mix of relief and unease. She had managed the charade perfectly, and yet, something inside her had shifted. She caught herself replaying moments with Jonathan, the subtle glances, the brief touch of his hand, the way he had looked at her near the balcony. Her chest tightened at the thought, a warmth she had never allowed herself to feel for an employer or any man in her life. As the day wore on, Jonathan found himself watching her from across the office more than he cared to admit. He noticed the way her eyes lit up when she solved a problem, the quiet confidence she carried, the kindness she extended to everyone around her without expectation. Each small act, each effortless gesture, made him see her in a new light. He realized he had never really noticed her, not truly, but now, he couldn't stop thinking about her. Amara, too, sensed a subtle change in Jonathan. His usual detachment softened when she was near, his words carried a gentleness that he reserved only for her. It was in the way he paused to ask her opinion, in the rare moments when his smile lingered just for her, and in the subtle acknowledgement of her abilities that no one else seemed to notice. She wondered if she was imagining it, but deep down, she knew he was different with her. By the afternoon, Jonathan couldn't keep the thoughts bottled up any longer. He called Amara into his office under the pretense of discussing a minor work matter, but the real reason was far more personal. "Amara," he began, his voice hesitant but sincere, "I need to tell you something. Last night, watching you, it wasn't just the party. It was everything about you. The way you carry yourself, the way you handle people, the way you make those around you feel valued, it's remarkable." Amara felt her heart skip a beat. She had heard praise before, of course, but never like this, never so genuine, so unguarded. "Mr. Harrington, she started, unsure how to respond. He cut in gently, his eyes locking with hers. "Call me Jonathan. Please. I don't want formalities between us anymore. I realized something important. I've spent my life pursuing success, wealth, respect, but I've never truly appreciated the people right in front of me. And you've shown me something I didn't know I was missing." Amara's breath caught. She wanted to speak, to tell him she had long admired his ambition and dedication, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she nodded, feeling a swell of emotion she had fought to suppress for years. Jonathan leaned back, exhaling slowly. "I know this may sound sudden, and I know we started this as a pretense. But the truth is, I can't stop thinking about you. Not as my maid, not as someone helping me with appearances. I mean as you, Amara. The person I've come to respect and admire deeply." A quiet tension filled the room. Amara's mind raced. Could it really be possible that the man she had served for years saw her now, not as a servant, not as someone to manage, but as a woman of worth, as someone extraordinary? She wanted to trust her instincts, the feelings that had been building, but she was cautious. "Jonathan, I don't know what to say. This is unexpected." He reached out, placing a hand gently on hers. "You don't have to say anything right now. Just know that I see you. Truly see you, in a way I've never seen anyone before. And I want to explore this, if you'll let me." For a long moment, Amara looked down at their hands, then slowly met his gaze. There was vulnerability there, honesty, and something profoundly human. She realized that the man before her was not just a billionaire, not just an employer, he was someone capable of genuine love, someone who could grow and change, inspired by her presence. Finally, with a soft but determined voice, she said, "Jonathan, I'll give this a chance. But we have to take it one step at a time. This can't be rushed or forced." Jonathan smiled, a mixture of relief and joy flooding his features. "One step at a time. That's all I ask. And in that quiet, sunlit office, a new chapter began, one where pretense gave way to possibility, where admiration and respect laid the foundation for something deeper. Neither of them knew where it would lead, but both understood that what they shared was rare, powerful, and worth exploring. In the days and weeks following the party, Jonathan and Amara found themselves navigating a delicate dance between professional obligations and a growing personal connection. The office hummed with activity, deals were signed, meetings held, and amidst it all, the subtle undercurrent of their unspoken feelings began to take shape. Jonathan had always been focused on efficiency and results, but now he noticed the moments he spent with Amara were the ones he cherished most, the ones that made even the most stressful day bearable. Amara, too, found herself affected in ways she had never anticipated. She had always been careful to keep her emotions guarded, maintaining the boundaries that her role demanded. But now, every glance from Jonathan, every moment of quiet acknowledgement, made her heart race. She discovered herself looking forward to small interactions, the way he would ask for her advice on trivial matters, the way he trusted her judgment, and the way he genuinely listened, as if her thoughts truly mattered. One afternoon, as they worked late on a critical proposal, Jonathan noticed Amara's concentration and the subtle furrow of her brow. "You've been working tirelessly," he said gently, leaning against the edge of her desk. "When was the last time you took a break?" Amara smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I've been busy, but it's nothing I can't handle." Jonathan shook his head, a small smile tugging at his lips. "No, it's more than that. You deserve a break, Amara. You always give so much, yet I rarely see you take a moment for yourself. Let me make it up to you. Dinner tonight, my treat. No discussions about work, no interruptions, just time." Her heart fluttered, a mixture of surprise and something warmer. "Jonathan. I don't know if, please," he interrupted softly but firmly, his gaze steady. "Just one evening. Trust me." She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "All right, one evening." That night, Jonathan took Amara to a quiet, elegant restaurant, away from the scrutiny of the corporate world. The dim lights and soft music created an atmosphere where conversations felt intimate and genuine. Over the course of the evening, they shared stories about their pasts, their ambitions, their fears. Amara learned about Jonathan's childhood, the sacrifices he had made to build his empire, and the loneliness that had accompanied his success. Jonathan, in turn, discovered Amara's dreams and the struggles she had overcome to carve out a life of dignity and independence. At one point, Jonathan reached across the table, taking her hand gently. "I don't know when it happened, Amara, but I feel like I've known you forever. You've changed how I see the world, how I see myself. You inspire me in ways I never imagined." Amara felt a warmth spread through her chest. The words were sincere, without pretense, without obligation. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that perhaps her feelings were not misplaced. "Jonathan, you inspire me too. Not just because of who you are, but because of how you're willing to be better, to see the good in others, to care. You've shown me that it's possible to be seen, truly seen, and I'm grateful for that." The evening ended with a quiet walk under the city lights, the crisp air carrying the faint scent of rain and pavement. Jonathan stopped, turning to face her, his expression serious but tender. "Amara, I know we started with a lie, pretending for appearances, but I can't ignore what's real between us. I feel it every time we're together, and I can't pretend otherwise." Amara's heart pounded. "I feel it too, Jonathan. But we have to be careful. What we're feeling, it can't be rushed." He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I'll wait. I'll be patient. But I can't ignore it either. I want us to explore this, to see where it goes. No pretenses, just us." In that moment, standing under the glow of the city lights, they both realized that the connection they had been avoiding, the emotions they had tried to suppress, were undeniable. They had started with a pretense, a simple charade for appearances, but what had grown between them was real, profound, and transformative. And so, as the night ended and they returned to their respective lives, each carried a spark of hope, a promise that this growing bond could lead to something extraordinary, something neither of them had dared to imagine before. Weeks passed, and the pretense that had brought Jonathan and Amara together began to fade into something much deeper. Their interactions at the office became more than just professional. Subtle gestures, lingering glances, and shared laughter created a connection that neither could ignore. Jonathan, who had always believed his world was complete with wealth and power, found himself captivated by Amara in ways he had never expected. Her presence was grounding, her intelligence and kindness a mirror to the parts of himself he had long neglected. One evening, Jonathan found himself staying late at the office, the glow of the city casting long shadows across the sleek floor. Amara was there as well, helping him prepare a critical presentation for a potential investor, her calm efficiency turning what could have been chaos into seamless precision. Watching her, he realized that it wasn't just her competence that drew him in, it was her integrity, her strength, and the way she treated everyone around her with respect, regardless of their status. As they reviewed the final details, Jonathan's mind wandered to the truth he had been avoiding. He had asked her to pretend to be his wife, and in doing so, he had uncovered a part of himself that had been dormant for years, the ability to truly love, to value someone not for appearances or social gain, but for who they were at their core. The thought struck him with startling clarity: Amara was not just a helper in his life, she was the missing piece, the one person who made him want to be better, to be more human. Amara noticed the change in him too. She had seen glimpses of vulnerability before, but now it was different. He was open, attentive, and genuinely concerned with her thoughts and feelings. One evening, as they prepared to leave, she asked softly, "Jonathan, do you ever wonder, what would happen if we stopped pretending entirely? If we just allowed ourselves to be honest about what we feel?" Jonathan paused, the weight of her question settling over him like a warm, heavy blanket. He had tried to ignore the feelings, to keep them compartmentalized within the safe boundaries of their roles, but now it was impossible. "I think about it every day, Amara," he admitted, his voice low and earnest. "And every day I realize that I can't go back to pretending. I don't want to. I want us to be real, not just tonight, not just for appearances. I want you in my life, truly, completely." Amara's eyes widened, her heart racing. The truth she had been daring herself to hope for was finally spoken aloud. "Jonathan. I feel the same," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "But are you sure? About us?" He stepped closer, taking her hands in his eyes searching hers for reassurance and connection. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. You inspire me, Amara. You challenge me, you care for me, and you make me want to be better. I don't want to imagine a future without you in it. You've changed everything for me, and I love you." Tears welled in Amara's eyes as she realized the depth of their connection. The man who had seemed untouchable, distant, and entirely self-contained was now vulnerable before her, expressing a love she had longed for but never expected to receive. "Jonathan. I love you too," she said, her voice steady despite the rush of emotion. "You've shown me a world I never thought I could be part of, and you've made me believe in love and trust. I'm ready, if you are." Jonathan pulled her into a gentle embrace, holding her close as if letting go might shatter the fragile reality they had created. In that moment, there were no charades, no pretense, no office roles or social expectations, only the raw, honest truth of two hearts finally finding each other. From that night onward, their bond deepened. Their love was not born from wealth, power, or social status, it was born from respect, admiration, and the unspoken understanding that they had changed each other's lives forever. The turning point had come not from a grand gesture or dramatic confession, but from the quiet realization that sometimes, the person who has been by your side all along is the one you've been searching for, without even knowing it. The following months were filled with quiet, meaningful moments that strengthened the bond between Jonathan and Amara. Gone were the formalities of employer and employee, in their place was mutual respect, admiration, and the gentle rhythm of a love that had been quietly growing beneath the surface. Every day, Jonathan found himself inspired by Amara's strength, her intelligence, and her unwavering kindness. She challenged him to be better, not through demands, but by simply being herself, showing him the value of humility, empathy, and authenticity. Jonathan knew he couldn't keep his feelings contained forever. One weekend, he arranged a private evening at his family's countryside estate, far from the prying eyes of colleagues, socialites, and the corporate world. The setting sun cast a golden glow across the manicured gardens, the air filled with the scent of blooming roses and fresh grass. Amara arrived, dressed in a simple yet elegant gown that highlighted her natural grace, her heart fluttering with anticipation. "Amara," Jonathan began, taking both her hands in his, "I've spent so much of my life pursuing wealth, success, and recognition, but none of it ever made me feel complete. It wasn't until you came into my life, until you were by my side, even in pretense, that I realized what truly matters. Your presence, your love, your unwavering integrity, it's changed me in ways I never thought possible." Amara's eyes glistened with tears, and she squeezed his hands gently. "Jonathan, I feel the same. You've shown me that love isn't about appearances or status, it's about respect, trust, and being seen for who we truly are. I never imagined that someone like you could love someone like me, but I see now that love doesn't follow rules, it chooses hearts." Jonathan smiled, his own eyes moist with emotion. "Amara, I don't want to pretend anymore. I want the world to know, and more importantly, I want to spend my life with you. Will you marry me?" Her breath caught, her heart racing with a joy that words could scarcely capture. "Yes, Jonathan," she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Yes, I will." The proposal was followed by a quiet, intimate celebration with only a few close friends and family, but for Jonathan and Amara, it felt like the most significant event in the world. Every detail was perfect, not because of wealth or grandeur, but because it reflected their journey, the honesty, the growth, and the love that had blossomed against all odds. On the day of their wedding, Amara walked down the aisle with a radiant smile, her eyes locked on Jonathan, who stood waiting with a mixture of awe and admiration. As they exchanged vows, it was not just a promise of love, but a celebration of everything they had learned from each other: patience, trust, respect, and the courage to embrace vulnerability. "I promise to honor you, cherish you, and grow with you," Jonathan said, his voice steady yet full of emotion. "You've inspired me to be better, to see the world differently, and I vow to spend my life proving that your love is the greatest gift I have ever received." Amara responded with heartfelt sincerity, "I promise to stand by you, to support you, and to love you fully, without reservation. You have taught me that love is not about perfection or appearances, but about connection, honesty, and courage. I choose you, today and always." As they sealed their vows with a gentle, lingering kiss, a sense of peace and fulfillment enveloped them. The journey that had begun with a simple pretense, pretending to be a wife for a single night, had transformed into a love story that was real, profound, and enduring. Jonathan and Amara had discovered that true love was not about titles, social expectations, or appearances, but about recognizing the extraordinary qualities in each other and choosing to build a life together founded on admiration, trust, and unwavering respect. And so, hand in hand, they stepped into their new beginning, a life of shared dreams, laughter, challenges, and triumphs, knowing that the bond they had nurtured was unbreakable. For Jonathan, Amara was more than a wife, she was his inspiration, his equal, and the heart that completed his world. And for Amara, Jonathan was more than a billionaire, he was a man willing to see beyond appearances, to love deeply, and to honor her in ways she had never imagined possible. Together, they proved that love, when genuine and fearless, could turn even the most unlikely beginnings into a story worth living forever.